Hello, my name is Amanda and I'll be testing Gomoku game I made for my NEA. The first test is to open the main menu itself. As you can see, everything works correctly in here. The next test is test 2, which is to test the rules button, which should lead us to the rules screen, so to say. As you can see, there are 3 main rules and everything is correct. The next button to be tested is the load game button. When I input AI test 1, we should see, again as I said previously, that is prepared for the purpose of this test. There should be a white piece in the middle of the board, and on the board there should be another black piece. If I press enter, it should enter us into the game, as we can see. Then we can continue the game. Let's say I put it in the top left, then the AI will randomly place it elsewhere because it's easy difficulty. It's not trying to win per se. It's very, very easy to win this difficulty. Okay, so the next test is also for the load button, but it's for the erroneous input of a game that does not exist. So if I, for example, enter error possibly, then we can see that the save file was not found. The next test is to test the quit button, which is right here, and when I click that, it should exit the game. So if I just do this, we can see the game stopped, and I can run it once more. There we go. Okay, so the next test is to test this toggle size. As you can see, when I click this, it will change. So if I would go to the 1v1 game right now, we will have 15 by 15 board. But if I change it to the 19 by 19 and go back to the game, we'll have 19 by 19 board. This is the same for any difficulty, as this uses the same code. Yeah. Okay, so the next test is to see if the 1v1 works correctly, which I already kind of shown here, yeah. Now, if we click this, we will see a difficulty screen with 3 different difficulties and a back button that returns us to the main menu. The next test is also for the 1v1 game. We can see 15 by 15 screen, which is the default mostly used in the Gomoku games. We can save the game, we can go back to the main menu. We can place the piece, and then the current player will switch. So now I play as a player 2, and I can try to win as well. Okay, so let's move on to testing the AI now. The easy test is not very hard to make. I just need to place it roughly in the middle, and then the AI will randomly place it elsewhere. It's not going to try to block me in this difficulty yet. But if I were to go to the medium difficulty, then the AI will actually try and block me, as we can see here. The response time in the medium is very, very short, which is what I went after. It would take a little bit longer to place something, but the response time is not very, very long. And the AI itself is much smarter. And I have some of my beta testers were not able to win this. My beta tester, that was the end user, so Victor Walczak, he did not manage to win versus hard mode, so I am quite proud of this. Next, I will test the save button. And we'll do this by going to 1v1 game. And what we'll do is, let's say we want to put 3 pieces at each player next to each other just for the test purposes. And now if we save the game as 1v1 test, not 1x, 1v1 test 1, you can see the game is saved. We can obviously continue the game, but if we were to load this now, we can see that the game loaded to the state it was saved in. Now, what we can do at the same time is test vertical win conditions, since we are already in the 1v1 mode. So I will try to win as the white pieces to get 5 in a row in a vertical. So if I do this, we can see that congratulations, player 1, you win. So as you can also see, the player that starts changes randomly, so that's also something I implemented. The next condition of winning I would like to test is the horizontal one. So if I put pieces like this time, and the player that starts always starts as a white piece because that's part of the rules. You can see this condition also works perfectly fine. Now, to test diagonal conditions, we have to do 2 tests from left to right and from right to left. So if we go first from the left to right, this works perfectly fine. And now I can test the other one as well. Or I can mess up. Okay, this one I will as the player 1, which is the black piece. As you can see, this also works if I don't mess them up. Anyways, now we can move on to testing the back button. As you can see, and we saw before as well, the back button works perfectly fine in any of the screens. I can just show it very quickly. There we go, we can see that it works everywhere. Now, the next test is a erroneous test, and what it tests is basically it protects you from clicking outside of the board and crashing the program, which used to happen in the past because the program was trying to calculate the placement of the mouse onto the grid and it just could not do it. And when I did that in the future, I'm not sure if you can hear the click, but I'm clicking around the board, then it used to crash. So now I obviously made safety procedures, I don't know how to call it. I made sure to implement validation that the click is within the board, and if it's not, then it's not registered. Now, the next test is test number 15, and it's a test to check whether the AI blocks the player from winning. So to test this, we can go to medium or hard difficulty. I would go to medium, personally, because that's the one that most suits me. Now, if I try to win, the AI will obviously try to block me. I can try to make various attempts, but it's going to block me every single time, as you can see. The next test is to check whether the AI itself tries to win. So in order to do this, I will make it easy for it, basically. Initially, it's trying to find what am I trying to do. But eventually, as you can see, it's going to try and win itself since it has occasion. It doesn't have to block me, so it goes for the win. Eventually. There we go. Okay, now, the next test is also an erroneous test, and it tests whether the program itself remains functional. So to say if the dev itself is changed, and to do this I need to go to versus AI function, which is actually, if I just jump to it real quickly, there we go. If I change in the hard difficulty dev to 3, because right now it's on 2, if we now run the program and go to hard difficulty, it's going to take significantly longer because it has to look through entire board 3 times instead of 2. So now we have to wait quite a while for it to respond. As you can see, it's not exactly functional because it takes a long while, and if you try to rush it, it's going to crash, which is not something that can happen in the middle of the game, so that's why I remained it on the low, it's quite low, but it's still quite smart AI despite that, so I think 2 is perfectly reasonable in this case scenario.